Sup, freaks? It's your boy Marty here to introduce this episode of Tales from the Crypt. I had the immense pleasure of sitting down with Ben Carman, Ben the Carman, from Suredbits to talk about discrete log contracts and how they can be applied and how they're very underappreciated. Underappreciated is a correct word to describe them at the moment. They're hard to be appreciated because there hasn't been many implementations of them, but some are coming to market very soon, particularly from Suredbits. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. This episode is brought to you by good friends at the motherfucking Cash App. Excuse my son in the background. Cash App. You help me stack sats, send sats, receive sats, and sell sats if you so please. We're saying sats because sats is the standard. We're no longer stacking fractions of a Bitcoin. We're stacking sats, whole sats. You can set sats as the standard. Son, please. I'm recording an ad right now. You can DCA into sats. You can set it and forget it. You can buy daily, weekly, bi-weekly. Set it and forget it. Dollar cost average. On top of that, you can stack slivers of stonks as well. You're not only stacking whole sats. If you're into the stock market, if you're buying that dip in the last couple of days, you can stack a sliver of a stonk. You don't have to buy a whole stonk. If your favorite stonk's a little too expensive, you can buy as little as $1. Okay, we're stacking sats and slivers of stonks. Because this is all connected to your bank account, there's no 4 to 5 day waiting periods. You can start stacking today. Cash App may even be your bank account. They're offering account numbers and routing numbers. You can get your paychecks direct deposit in the app. You can ditch the old banks. Join the new bank in the Cash App. I should note that Cash App Investing is a subsidiary of Square, member SIPC. And as always, when you download the Cash App, if you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? Easiest place to stack sats in the United States. When you do, use the code STACKINGSATS. It's STACKINGSATS. You're going to get $10, and $10 is going to go to our good friends at Owls Lacrosse. That's Owls Lacrosse. Download the Cash App and enjoy this episode with Ben the Carman. Tiki.
You've had a dynamic where money's become freer than free.
If you talk about a Fed just gone nuts, all the central banks going nuts.
So it's all acting like safe haven.
I believe that in a world where central bankers are tripping over themselves to devalue their currency, Bitcoin wins. In the world of fiat currencies, Bitcoin is the victor.
I mean, that's part of the bull case for Bitcoin.
If you're not paying attention, you probably should be.
On. What is up, freaks? Welcome back to Tales from the Crypt. It's your boy Marty. Ben here on a hot Friday afternoon. Humidity is very high where I am, Ben. I'm jealous that you're indoors in the air condition. I assume. I don't know if you have your air conditioner on. Freaks,
I do.
I'd like to introduce you to Ben the Carman, developer at Suredbits. What's going on, dude?
How's it going, guy? I'm going good. How are you?
Doing well, man. Did we first meet last year at BitBlock Boom? BitBlock Boom 2019?
That's my first met you in person, yeah, at the S&I dinner. Yeah.
And what were you doing back then? You weren't at Suredbits yet then, right?
No, at that time, I was still in college and just working on Wasabi in my free time. And then, yeah, then went back to college.
You're not in college anymore, right?
No, I graduated back in December.
Yeah, where'd you go, if you don't mind me asking?
I went to Iowa State, did a BS in computer science.
ISU, baby.
Yeah, go Cyclones.
Yeah.
Even though we suck at every sport.
It's one of my favorite rivalries, though, Iowa versus Iowa State.
Oh, yeah, those are always fun. You get way too drunk, and then Iowa State would always lose, so that kind of sucked, but whatever. You got drunk.
Yeah. How'd you find your way to Bitcoin?
So, like a lot of people, 2017 bull market is going crazy, and I was listening to a comedy podcast, and they're all know nothing about it, but they brought it up because it's popping off, and I was like, I should look into this thing. And I bought $50 worth, and I was like, okay, I'm set for life if this thing takes off. And that next morning, I did the calculation, well, is that actually true? And I was like, turns out it's not. $50 will not set you up to be a multimillionaire at this point in time. So then I started like really looking into it though, and watched way too many Andreas videos in my free time, and that took me down the rabbit hole for a long while. And then yeah, then finding like this podcast and like Pierre's and Stefan Levere, like basically all those major ones, that like even further took me down the rabbit hole of just like finding like why Bitcoin is important, and like just learning about it really fascinated me, like both from the tech side and the like economic side. Because before Bitcoin, like, you know, I was like just your average Bernie bro that's just, you know, tax rich and will fix all our problems. But after, you know, after doing some reading and critical thinking, realized you can't just solve stuff by taking money from other people. So it really helped me out.
That's interesting. I never knew you were a Bernie bro. What do you think was critical to flipping that particular switch in your mind?
Saifedean's book really, like, that book blew my mind. The Bitcoin Standard. I remember before I understood both sides, where I was like, you know, like one side's like, you know, we should let people make decisions for themselves, and you know, let's let the market do what it wants to do. But, you know, I thought, like, you know, sure, you can do that, but we should go for the best outcome by, you know, what I thought would be, you know, taxing the rich and, you know, giving other people like free college through that or whatever. But after like never even looking into like, you know, can that actually work? After, you know, reading like Saifedean's book or just like listening to like countless podcasts, you kind of realize like, okay, no, like you can say you can do that, but that's not how it actually works out in real life. And, you know, you just give like a couple real world examples and show like this isn't how it actually works out, and you're never going to centrally plan something into like what you want.
Yeah, you can't micromanage complex systems. I think that's
exactly.
That's how I would distill Austrian theory in one short sentence.
Yeah, definitely. Something that actually uniquely helped me come to that situation was like back then I was like a huge gamer and like followed I played League of Legends a whole bunch, and I would like follow the balance of that game, and like it's just like that game where the developers have full control over that system and they could never control it. It's like, if they can't do that, how do you expect someone to control something where they have no full control? And that really like that was something I kind of realized, where like people get so mad like no one can fix this game, and then while they have full control, and in the real world these people have basically, they have like some knobs to turn, but not every knob to turn, and they still can't control it. So how do we expect them to do it if, I don't know, does that make sense?
No, yeah, it does make sense. Actually, tweeted out this morning a fresh article from the Mises Institute refuting that that book. What was it? Looting, the moral case for looting. The author of that book is legitimately stupid. Like they quoted her in like the New York Times, like NPR is giving her air as well, and she doesn't really understand how things work out or the repercussions of what she's advocating, which is the ability to loot stores in low-income neighborhoods, because those people deserve that. They should not have to work.
Yeah, I don't, like, if you take that to its logical conclusion, like, sure, if you say like for the next week you get to loot and you get to solve economic inequality, but like you can't just stop doing that. Like that'll just be permanent part of our society now if looting's okay, and we'll just have chaos for the rest of the time. Like you can't build a sound society on like terrible pretenses.
Yeah, I mean, looting by definition disrespects private property rights, and if you want a civilized society, private property rights are a pretty important cornerstone, and protecting those rights, more importantly, of a civilized, cooperative society. Things are getting weird, Ben. They're getting weird.
2020, man. Still waiting on aliens.
They're here. They're here. They just tried to throw that one in and think it would distract us.
Do you actually think they are here?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Are you an alien believer, or are you one of those people that we're too far away? It's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely out there. I don't think they've been here. It's just like the amount of time it'd take to get here. But I don't think we're too special. I think, you know, where's the blue dot going around? No one really cares about us.
A pale blue dot, a speck of dust, an array of light.
Exactly.
One of the
It's Carl Sagan, right?
yeah, one of the best just oral monologues I've ever heard. Give peace a chance, freaks. We're on a pale blue dot flying through space. But let's get to the topic of this episode and why we're here talking, which is discrete log contracts. You've been working on basically creating educational material and building out a functional implementation of discrete log contracts at Suredbits, the company that you joined. When did you join? Earlier this year? Last year?
November last year.
November last year. What brought you to Suredbits particularly? And then why are you guys focused on DLCs?
Yeah, I actually first met Chris at the Chicago Bitcoin meetup. Chris being Chris Stewart, the boss of Suredbits. But and then I was like in college just applying for jobs, and then Justin Moon actually he did like a Twitter thread of like, these are all Bitcoin companies looking for people. So I applied, and I already knew Chris, so kind of got me one foot in the door, and then started working here, and I've been really enjoying it. What we primarily do is, at least what I primarily do is work on the Bitcoin S library, which is like a Scala implementation of Bitcoin. So we have like, it's a wallet node, all the core functionality that you need for that. And so yeah, and then like that was like right when I joined is like when we started getting serious about starting to work on DLCs. Like all the groundwork for the library has been laid out for that. And then maybe it was in like March or April we got our like first kind of working implementation of it. And yeah.
Yeah, I remember writing about that. You ran that demo, right? Was that in DAV?
Well, we've both done demos. I think the first one might have been his, but yeah.
Yeah. If you freaks haven't done so already, make sure you go back and listen to the episode with Chris Stewart in the DAVCo and from Suredbits, Ben's co-workers. We dove pretty heavily into discrete log contracts, so I think this conversation, to be productive, is just to sort of build on that and see what you guys have been up to recently in the state of this interesting technology that could arguably bring scalable smart contracts to Bitcoin. Is that a correct assumption or description?
Yeah. So to distill it down a little, like what a DLC is in like a Bitcoin Oracle contract. It's basically you're making a transaction contingent on an Oracle signature, and this Oracle signature can be like committing to anything. So the example I like to use is like it's the presidential election, since it's timely. So like say if you want to, like me and Marty want to bet on who's going to win the election, we would just make transactions with each other that are invalid. We have invalid signatures on these, but once the Oracle signs, like say Oracle signs Trump won the election, then whoever bet on the Trump case would add that signature to their own transaction and use that to make a valid transaction to like take the funds and win. And with that like property, since the Oracle's not actually signing the transaction, they're signing just like a message saying like this event happened. It makes it a lot more private. So now like the Oracle doesn't see our exact transaction and what's actually happening. So that reduces like liability for them, as well as like greater privacy for us, as well as and it's just more scalable then, since we're not have to putting like their signature actually on the chain or at our contract at all on the chain. It's just it's just like a multi-sig transaction that like could be a Lightning channel or a coin swap or what have you.
Yeah, so you guys have a working implementation. Like how far away are we from this stuff getting some material use?
Probably within the next month for sure we will have something for people to use for real. I can't talk about it too much right now, but
spill the beans, Ben.
It's in the works.
Spill the beans.
We're gonna have something where everyone can bet on the selection if they want, and we have like an anonymous oracle that's gonna do it, and it'll be pretty cool. hopefully 2 working clients with it as well. So
Will it be like a desktop app that you just download or and create transactions with?
yeah, most likely it'll just be like a desktop wallet you download, and you'll have to like negotiate the DLC with whoever wants to take the other side of the bet. But yeah, it should be out soonish. We tried to get it out this week, but we found some bugs and compatibility issues with other clients, but work in progress.
So would you argue that this would be a better technology for American HODL and Peter McCormick to use for their election bet? And if so,
Yes,
if so, why is it better than this 2 or 3 multi-sig with an escrow agent?
Yeah, so what they're doing is like, it's American HODL, Peter McCormick, and Phil Geiger. They all have a key and a 2 of 3 multi-sig. And they trust Phil Geiger, that's fine. But like what could happen with theirs is like, like American HODL and Phil could be like drunk at BitBlock Boom, be like, yo, let's just take the money from Peter, ha ha ha. And they could just spend it without any recourse. And you obviously don't want that. And Phil also knows the exact transaction and address that these funds are locked up in, and he can, he'll know if his signature is needed or not. Versus with the DLC, they would, instead of be American HODL and Peter McCormick with just a 2 of 2 multi-sig, and Phil would just be signing the outcome. So he'd just sign, like Biden wins this election, and he'd give them that signature. But like Peter and American HODL, they could just close the thing if they don't want to use the Oracle. They agree like we're gonna be good guys and just sign it out. Or if like American HODL, he disappears for the day, then Peter McCormick can grab the signature from Phil and just use that to make his transaction valid. So he's like protecting himself from each other, since now no one can take the funds and without a valid signature, or eventually it'll time out and they'll use their refund, but generally shouldn't need that. And you're protecting yourself because it's a lot more private. They won't know exactly when it happens and which transaction is happening with it.
Yeah, so let's hone in on the Oracle aspect of this. The Oracle just knows that they have to sign a message with a certain event. They don't necessarily know the address that they don't even know how many funds are involved or the addresses that are involved. They just know the fact that they need to sign something.
Yeah, and like with that too, like say they American HODL and Peter McCormick, they're doing their bet, and like me and you get inspired, we want to do a bet, but we also want to use Phil Geiger. Now he's gonna have to sign for if we're doing like the 2 of 3 multi-sig, he'll have to sign our transaction plus American HODL's. But if he's just doing like a DLC, he'll just only have to sign the one message saying, this event happened, like this person won the election. Now that signature is usable for every single DLC that's contingent on what he's committing to. So that makes it a lot more scalable as well, since oracles can just do one event and then just forget about it. As well as you can also combine oracles. So say we don't want to just trust Phil Geiger, we want to trust like all the Unchained Capital guys. So I'll say like Parker Lewis also is gonna sign who wins the election. So then we could do like, we add those 2 together, and then if they both sign, this person wins, then our transaction will become valid. So you can like mitigate or like distribute trust that way.
Yeah, so in that scenario, it would have had to be like an if function if Parker and Phil provide the same answer, then sign.
Well, you would like, so what we're
like
using,
what happens if they give different answers? That's the question I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, so it depends how you set up your contract. So I mean, the two oracles is probably not the best way to do it. You want to do like a like 3 probably, so you do like a 2 of 3 or like 3 of 5. But it's what we're using to do this is adapter signatures. We're not actually putting it in the Bitcoin script. So you would just like do this off chain where you just like, as part of your signature, you would like subtract the signature points you expect from them to actually get this. So once you get the signature from them, you calculate the signature point and add that back to your signature to create it valid. So so like say if we wanted to do like a 3 of 5, we would we'd construct like 5 choose 3 transaction or signatures for these, and so then like we'd have one that's made valid by like like A, B, and C's signatures. We have another signature that's made valid by like B, C, and D's signatures, and you just have to like work that off chain, which will give you like more things to store, but you still only are broadcasting like a multi-sig transaction onto the chain once it's actually happened.
Yeah, let's get into Oracle incentives a little bit too. You guys have found a way to incentivize oracles to be as truthful as possible because they could potentially make more money via tips and stuff like that, correct?
Yeah, so there's two ways to incentivize oracles. One, they can, so they're like, the idea is they should be using like one public key for like most of their signatures, and with that key, we expect them to stake some funds under that. So like they'll say like they'll take that key and put like 50 Bitcoin under it, so you could go see on the blockchain, you know, there's 50 Bitcoin under, the Suredbits oracle's key. That's how much we're safe to bet on. Because say if we're signing for the election and we sign like Trump, we do two signatures. We'll like sign for ourselves that Trump won and then sign for someone else that Biden won. If anyone finds those two signatures, which should be pretty easy to do, you can just combine them and be able to steal the private key from that public key. So that way they're incentivized. So if they lie, you can prove they lied by having the signature, as well as you can take their money. So
let's get into that part. You can take their money. Why wouldn't Oracle have to lock up funds to sign signatures?
They don't have to, but it's just like we expect it to become like a standard, just because, if they're like putting funds on the line and staking that, like it's their reputation, and they're gonna like not only their reputation, but as well as we have money up here so you should trust us up to this amount.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so this dives into the great debate that's been going on for years in this space, is whether or not you can have decentralized oracles, or if you can incentivize centralized oracles correctly so that they act in an honest way. And so it seems like Suredbits has hitched their wagon to the latter, which makes sense to me, I think. Can you help describe the trade-offs between centralized and decentralized oracles, if decentralized oracles are even possible in the first place?
Yeah, I don't even think a decentralized oracle is technically possible. Like, the only way you could really do that is just have like lots and lots of like centralized oracles, and you just, you're doing like 500 of 1,000, and then just making sure that people agree on that. But yeah, like I think, like an oracle, apparently you're gonna always have to trust them, because they could always just sign whatever they want and do what they want. So that's something you always have to worry about. But you can, like with like this, you can always just do like a combination of multiple oracles and distribute your trust that way. And since like they also have economic incentives to be honest, it's safer to do it that way versus like, I don't know, whatever Ethereum does.
To me, the only decentralized oracle that exists today is the Bitcoin network. Ironically, right?
Yeah.
And it's an oracle for what's going on in its ledger.
Oracle for who owns what, yeah.
Who owns what, and an estimate of hash rate and difficulty at any given point in time. But that's a very energy-intensive decentralized oracle, and it serves very specific data points. I imagine it would be harder to design a similar, or just a alternative decentralized oracle for more specific data, right?
Yeah, like, Bitcoin, we're doing 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So it's like, what, 70 grand every 10 minutes? Like, that's a lot of money to be paying for an oracle. So
we dumped today, so maybe a little less.
Well, I'm optimistic, but yeah.
I think we're getting close. We're getting close to the point where you can get 10,000 sats per dollar, which I saw you were tweeting about the other day, or 1 million sats for $100. Excuse me.
I like my cheap sats, but I also like my net worth going up.
Who doesn't?
Exactly.
Your Bernie bro days, you would have said that wealth needs to be taxed exorbitantly. Are you saying your mind has changed?
No, dude, the inherent Bernie bro mentality is it's the other people you have to tax, not yourself.
That's true.
So,
Take it. Take it. Looting is okay. Kill the rich. Take all their money. It's time. Things are getting hairy out there, man. But we're going to stay on DLCs here because we don't want this to turn into too much of a pessimistic podcast. We're focusing on solutions. So how big do you think the opportunity of DLCs is? Do you think it will, from a composability perspective, do you think it will attract more developers to build more cool applications on top of Bitcoin?
yeah, like I think long run, like it kind of just kills any smart contract like shitcoin, because your Oracle could always just be signing whatever your smart contract is going to be. So like, say you want to have some like fancy like Solidity script on Ethereum that's going to take in all this data, and you know, if X happens, then you get the money. Like, you can have that enforced on chain, but like inherently nothing is as centralized as Bitcoin, and you're always going to be trusting someone. Like, I mean, with Ethereum, you know, you might just get hard forked out by Vitalik or, you know, what have you, but with like a Bitcoin Oracle, you could just have them be signing whatever your fancy script is going to do and make your contract contingent on that. So it just kind of makes it a lot easier, and then you're also just getting inherent privacy benefits from that, because you're not putting that fancy script on chain. It's just something off chain that your Oracle worries about to do, and so you're saving fees by not putting it on chain and saving privacy because people don't know what's going on in that transaction.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a more scalable, more private way of doing smart contracts. Is this a black swan in the industry? How come more people aren't talking about DLCs?
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, when I first like started working on Suredbits, I had never heard about it, and then they like basically like, you know, they informed me about it so I could work on it, and I was just kind of like, whoa, this is great. Like, why is no one talking about this? Like, I felt like you kind of did this with like when you started working at GAM. Like, it could hurt to like tell on the podcast you're talking about, like, you start bringing up like the free gas mining and stuff, and then you announce you're on GAM. It's like, oh, okay, that's why I've been talking about this for the past 3 months. It's like, I've been doing like the same thing with DLCs, where it's like, guys, why is no one talking about this? This is something that could like change like a lot of things.
Right? It seems that way. Like, it almost seems too good to be true. Do you think, I mean, obviously, if it is successful, it's going to surprise people to the upside due to the lack of fanfare that it's getting now. So these are the type of little projects and workings that I like to pay attention to. The underscored. I keep saying underscored when I mean underserved. Underscored means you like underline it and you're like highlighting it. It's the complete opposite of what I'm trying to get at. I say it way too much, and it's the complete wrong word to use. Underappreciated is a better word. Technologies, and I think DLCs is obviously one of them. I mean, again, scalable, private, smart contracts on top of Bitcoin. And so what is the interface of the desktop wallet you guys are going to, like, how easy is it going to be? You just deposit Bitcoin into a wallet, and then you can just pick UTXOs to put in these.
Initially, it's going to be pretty ugly, because we're like, as part of our specification, we're speccing out, so like it just be like you know, we're trying to like copy a lot of what Lightning's doing, and so you just like hit like open, and it would like negotiate it all like through the internet. But we haven't fully spec'd any of that stuff out yet. So right now, like what we're doing is just like, they'll just output like this big JSON, and you have to like copy paste that over to your friend, and do that like twice, and then your contract set up, and then you say like execute once the contract actually happens, and then you get your money. But probably like 6 months from now, then we'll have like the very nice UI where you just, you know, click execute and everything happens automatically.
Yeah. And so beyond election betting, what kind of unique use cases do you see coming out of DLCs?
I know, like, I don't know if you've heard of this company, but Atomic Loans, they're trying to build a derivatives like DEX about this stuff.
I do. I'm a big fan of Matthew Black and team. They're I met Matthew earlier this year. We had a Zoom call. I was really impressed by what they're doing.
Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, they're trying to work on like a thing where you can like do simple betting like in your browser with DLCs, and I think that could be like huge, because like something like I know there's like the Ethereum thing, Augur, where it doesn't get much volume, but there's like some volume where you can like bet on just like anything. Like someone just sets up an oracle for like any event you want to do. Like you could do like an NFL game, you could do like horse racing, you could do, do aliens come and invade us, whatever you want. But as long as you have someone signing something, you can do that. So I think just the composability of it's going to be like just a huge part, where it's a lot of this like something like with like the internet, where like back in the 80s when they were just sending around like research papers, they had no idea like people would be using this to stream movies like 30 years from now. And I think this is something kind of like that, where it's so infant, we can't really know the full capabilities of having to do like extremely smart like contracts.
And so, would it make sense for me to attempt to become an oracle to create a profitable business on top of this? Like who would become oracles? Like could I just like some Joe Schmo become an oracle?
Yeah, I mean, being an oracle has like basically zero overhead. All you need to do is publish pub keys and signatures. So like in total, it's like under 100 bytes per event. So it's super easy to do. Like you could run that over Tor and absolutely no problem, and do it completely privately. But yeah, the incentive, like what we're doing at Suredbits is like we have exchange API where you can like buy like previous like price data on different like crypto things, or like NFL scores or NBA scores. So with that, like we charge like 1 cent worth of satoshis per like piece of data. So that way, then like the oracle's incentivized, to actually like stay in business. 1 cent is not much to settle my contract. If expect you to be doing bigger bets than that. So and then like, but if you have significant volume, you should be able to be profitable with that. And yeah, we expect like initially we expect like basically just like major like Bitcoin exchanges to do this, because in the Ethereum world right now, most even like Coinbase is like a oracle for I think like Uniswap and stuff like that. So there's like definitely incentive to be there, because like just like getting your name out there and showing like your order book is important will drive traders to you. So if you can do that, then it's just a useful function.
Yeah. And if you can make money in the process, why not, right?
Yeah, like if there's money on the table, you should try and take it.
Yeah. And so my memory's a bit hazy about the footprint this makes on the blockchain. So how much of this is happening on Lightning at the moment? And that'll come later, I understand, or?
Yeah, so there's like 2 things here. So you can do them like completely on chain, where what it'll look like is just like 2 people's inputs going into a 2 of 2 multisig, and then they get their change back, and then they'll spend that 2 of 2 multisig to like the winning party, or they could split the money or whatever. So stuff like that. But eventually, once we get Schnorr and PTLCs to replace HTLCs, then we could do these on Lightning. So then there'd be no on-chain footprint, where you're just having your point be adding the Oracle signature instead of adding it to like your on-chain signatures. And yeah, so once we have that, there'd be absolutely no on-chain footprint. You just like you could do those like every second, and and then you're just constrained by Lightning. But there are some problems with getting these on Lightning. Like it's kind of like a lot of things with DLC shares problems with other things. So one thing is like, so if you wanted to do, like if we're betting on the election on Lightning, our funds will have to be locked up on Lightnings till like November 5th, or so that's like a long time. And who is it? I think Shores or someone, or maybe Renee Picard. They're talking about like HODL invoices, and the problems with that, where a routing node doesn't want like 1 Bitcoin locked up in their routes for like 6 months, when they could be earning fees on that, like providing liquidity. So that's a problem. But people, these are things that aren't DLC specific. It's Lightning's like entirely a problem. So I think that people are working on you pay to keep the funds locked up over time and stuff like that. So soon TM.
Soon TM. You guys have also been writing a lot of primers on Schnorr recently. What is exciting you about Schnorr? How will it help what you guys are doing at Suredbits, and how we're going to activate 340. What's your path forward?
Oh boy. So we'll start with Schnorr. Schnorr is like, I mean, we're just changing the signature scheme for Bitcoin. It's just inherently better. Like one, the security proof just has less assumptions, so and no new assumptions, so that's just better. Straight upgrade, and then it gives us like a million new properties and stuff like that. So for one, like with DLCs at least, we're using EC2SA adapter signatures, which are fine, but Schnorr adapter signatures are way cleaner and a lot nicer. And then with Schnorr as well, it allows us to do a lot more fancy things like music and batch verification. So like with music, then we can make 2 of 2 multi-sigs look like, you know, 1 of 1, or you could do 1,000 of 1,000 look like 1 of 1. Or anything like that. So that one helps DLCs as well, because now it just looks like a single spend. And then, you know, with Lightning or any really contract on Bitcoin now becomes just easily 1 of 1. And then batch verification will be sweet, because, you know, now instead of having to verify in each individual signature, we just add them all up together and batch verify them in one go. And that should help the IBD time in the future, where instead of having to, you know, verify each thing individually, you're saving a lot of computation time. Hopefully I'll help out those Raspberry Pis.
I know mine needs all the help it can get.
Yeah, same. Mine's a little cute boy working over there, but he's trying his darnest.
That's one thing not worry about Schnorr, but I'm interested. Like all these improvements, Schnorr, Taproot, Musig, does it reduce the amount of data needed for each transaction to such a level that the fee market is depressed a bit because you're saving so much? I know Peter Will has talked about that in the past, but when you couple that with the applications that can be enabled by discrete log contracts and the software that you guys are working on, I think, again, this ropes back to my theory of Jevons paradox. Like the utility provided by that application alone seems like it could drive a massive amount of usage on Bitcoin just from degenerate gamblers who historically have been drawn to Bitcoin from one way or another. So it just seems like a better iteration on Satoshi's dice that's can enable a wider use case.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine in the fee market. Like back in 2017, we had like blocks with like over 10 Bitcoin in fees, and I mean, Bitcoin's more efficient and better now, but you know, we had probably not even 1% of the world using Bitcoin at that point. I think once we get more and more people onboarded, there'll be plenty of transactions going through.
Yeah, you dodged the activation question.
I did. Yeah, there's lots of proposals going on right now.
You have BitBait in your Twitter handle.
Yeah,
your Twitter.
BitBait or die. So BitBait is like, there's kind of 2 ways to do it. One is BitBait. So there's like BitBait false and BitBait true. What BitBait false is basically what we originally did with like every previous soft fork, where at the end of, like, if miners don't activate it, then we do nothing, and we don't activate. And then there's BitBait true, where we just say at the end of this, if miners don't activate, we're saying screw you miners, and UASFing it into the consensus. And I mean, that's cool, but it also can be dangerous, especially because if we do find like a problem with the, you know, if there's find some bug in the Taproot code or something like that, or in the like inherent properties of it, then we're kind of screwed, because we've just committed to actually activating this like a year from now or whatever, and we have no way to stop it. But I mean, generally I think we're going to be fine. Things getting a ton of review, and it's been being talked about probably for almost like 5 years now or something, or around there. So
yeah, it's like nobody wants to just step forward and start the activation. It's like the weird dilemma we find ourselves in. Like, who's gonna beat the Leroy Jenkins? Like, in a good sense. I think
it's just like it's a little too early to commit to an activation method. I think, yeah, like BIP 340, the Schnorr spec, just got a modification like a week ago, and like But like once we start getting once the Schnorr stuff is merged into libsecp, I think it'll start being a lot more real, and then Taproot is that PR into core will get a lot more buzz and get a lot closer to actually being merged. And once that's merged, then after that, then we start talking about like activation and stuff like that. And even once it is merged, we still need to wait for like a Bitcoin core release, which I mean the current release schedule says the next one is in December, so probably have to wait till to even start doing stuff till like January. So we got some time.
That's some time. But Peter Will actually had he tweeted out about a PR about making libsec Schnorr compatible. That was getting axed from Greg Maxwell this week. Can you explain what was going on there? Did you catch that?
Yeah. It's just like the so Bitcoin Core, they don't actually implement any of the cryptography. There's a separate library on the Bitcoin repo called libsecp 256k1, which just has like all the basic like cryptography stuff, like highly optimized to be really fast. So like that currently has like all the like Bitcoin signatures for like ECDSA signatures and verifying those, creating them, all that stuff. But now they're trying to add the Schnorr part of that, so we can add that to Bitcoin eventually. So the PR for that's been open for a while, but it's just like nearing the end of its review. Greg Maxwell's given it an act a couple of times, and then there's been like small changes here and there. But yeah, last I looked, it's like it got like a little bit of review, and it's looking like it's about to be merged. So, yeah, Greg Maxwell gave it an act 3 hours ago. So
another one.
Yeah. So we're close. It's just it just like kind of just needs to happen. But
Yeah.
once it does, then it gets the ball rolling even further.
Yeah. What do you think about the pace of the activation and merging of this stuff? Are you content? Think it's going a little too slow? People being a little too cautiously optimistic, or you think it's the right way to go about it, and people should just stop being impatient?
I mean, I'm kind of on both sides. Like, I think Taproot discussion sort of started a lot earlier. Like Taproot didn't really come into like we're gonna do this thing into like that mindset maybe like a year ago. But like it could have been like we could have started working on it like pretty soon after SegWit, but it just didn't happen because I mean people are just like battle scarred basically from it and scared to like talk about soft forks again. But now that we are here, I think it's going at is a reasonable pace where we need to review this thing and make sure it's correct, and make sure the specification is exactly how we want it, because once it's activated we can't change it. So yeah, we need to continue and make sure it's correct, but I think it's going at a good pace. Like I expect like by like probably like June next year it'll be like activated in the network, but it's just going to take a little bit of time. But once we have it forever. So
that's sooner than I would have expected.
Thing. I think activation will probably start like January or February, and then should activate since then really quick. Like besides SegWit, every soft fork activation is only taking a couple months. So once we actually start activation, it should be quick, unless it for some reason it becomes political. But I think we've trimmed that fat since.
Yeah, I don't think it'll become political. And actually, a lot of people are worried about miners. And I'm in a bunch of mining chats right now. I think miners are pretty open to this as well. I think it'll be a pretty big, not nothing burger, but it's not going to be as contentious as some people expect it may be.
Yeah, I mean, like I think like the problem with SegWit was like the miners were economically incentivized to not activate it because of covert ASIC boost, and because Jihan was being Jihan and wanted to make Bitcoin Cash. So kind of screwed things over. But like there was no covert ASIC boost, and we didn't have big blockers. It would have, I think, like SegWit should have activated fine. And now that there's no economic incentive for them to do that, should be. I don't see a reason why it would become like contentious.
No, neither do I. This is an interesting question for you, considering my last guest, Fabian Yar. We talked about a review a lot. Do you hop into core and review PRs a lot?
I try to, but my C++ skills aren't what they used to be. So, and like with reviewing code, like you can conceptually review it, but a lot of it you need to fully understand like the entire library they're working with to fully grasp every chain that's going on. So like I'm not too familiar with the entire Bitcoin core code base, so some of it you just like, I don't know what this function does, and it's going to take me 5 minutes to figure out exactly what it does, and it's just very time consuming to give a very good review on some stuff. So but I do try to like go through things and give like concept act, like, this makes sense, or I'll just like Fabian Yar's his the get TX out stuff. I've been testing some of his stuff, like making sure that like it does work for me, and like I'll do like stuff like that, like just try to test things out, make sure it works, because that's still useful.
Yeah. No, it's a very interesting subject. That another one that doesn't get enough tick is the concept of review and how important it is, and the whole reviewed PRs to actual PRs that you produce yourself is an interesting ratio that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, like the review state of core is like, it's hard. Like I have 2 PRs that have been open since like mid 2019, still haven't been merged, and like it's just like stuff like that. Like it's hard to get stuff in the core because it is such a big project, and because like it's such an important project, so we need to be careful with everything we put in.
What PRs do you have open right now? What are they?
Oh, they're like a couple of small things. One of them is just if you have a watch only address, it give you the ability to remove it, and then another thing is, so like currently you can set like a command to happen if like a block or a transaction comes in, and I added one, so when you're just like when your node's finished booting up, then it'll execute a command. So like my idea was I was trying to make like my LND election personal server start up every time core started up, but normally you need to like make like a bash script outside of core, but I just wanted to add it like as part of my node, so every time I boot it up, it would always boot those things up.
And that would be like a toggle feature.
Yeah. Just like a command or an option.
Yeah. You seem to have a very good grasp of all this stuff for somebody who just graduated college. Like, what have you been working on software for quite a while, and like, what interested you before Bitcoin from a software perspective?
Yeah, I got in like since I was like 5. I was like always like the computer guy. Like my parents called me IT as a kid just because I was the only one that could fix stuff, even when I was like 7. But yeah, like I got into programming in high school. Like we had a very like super intro to C++ programming that I did, and after that I like fell in love with it. I would do like basic like coding at home, but nothing too serious. And then in college, like that's where I just kind of like started like doing it all in my free time and stuff. Did like a few side projects, and then like getting into Bitcoin, I was like, oh, like, and finding like open source development really like pushed me even further over the ledge, where it's like now these are things I'm actually interested that I can work on, and like work and like find really smart people to work with, like with when I worked on Wasabi for a while, like I was just I was a Wasabi user, and I saw they're doing like the bless you
COVID sneaking up.
But yeah, I was just on Twitter, and I saw they're doing like the contribution game, so I was like, all right, I don't even know C#, but I'm gonna try it. And like spending like those couple of months working with those guys, you just like learn so much from the Bitcoin community, because there's like so many good developers here, and it just like sucks you in because there's so much interesting stuff to work on, and so many like interesting and smart people that like you just like can't not spend your time talking to these people.
Yeah. No, I feel very fortunate to be the host of this podcast and able to speak to smart individuals like yourself about this stuff, because sometimes it goes completely over my head, but there are, like you said, so many smart, extremely smart people working on this, and the amount of fascinating conversations I've had about subjects that I probably would have never approached in a prior life. It's a surprise to the upside that I'm very happy I'm able to experience pretty consistently.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. Like just being able to talk to like at BitBlock Boom last weekend, like just being able to talk to those guys, it's just like it's almost surreal of like how smart these people are, and like how much like different depths that Bitcoin touches.
Yeah, what was your favorite conversation from last weekend?
I don't know. I really enjoyed like Robert Breedlove's talk. That was really insightful. But I was like hanging out with actually one of my favorite conversations was actually talking with one of the samurai guys there. It was interesting to hear his perspective on some of the things and like different trade-offs they were taking and his perspective on different aspects.
Yeah. Having worked on Wasabi, what are your thoughts on the current CoinJoin flame wars?
It's warranted and also not. Like a lot of it's bullshit and like people overhyping because it's process incentive to cause drama. But I don't know. I think they're both good products and it's fine to use either as long as you're being smart about it. But it's at the we're at the very beginning of stages of CoinJoin stuff. Like I think Wasabi was the first like major client and that came out in like 2018. So I think 5 years down the line, this won't matter anymore.
Join market was probably the first, correct?
Yeah, but that's never really gotten huge user use.
Yeah. Our boy OpenNoms is working on that, trying to make it more user friendly.
Yeah, I'm super hyped for that. I know I think Raspberry Blitz has it like implemented now, so you could do something with that. But I just like that's something that's like excites me because it's like with like that you can actually like quote unquote like generate yield with your Bitcoin, and actually you're providing a service for people by just mixing and helping yourself. I think that's going to be pretty big.
Yeah, you help yourself in many ways. You get more privacy, you're making money, and then you're arguably compounding that money you make by making Bitcoin more private, which makes it more useful and makes it more valuable. Right? It's a nice, beautiful feedback loop there.
And making join market more useful because now there's more liquidity in there and more people come to it then, and then compounding there.
Yeah. It's a hell of a thing. So what's it like working at Suredbits? You guys are completely distributed, correct?
Yeah, we worked from home before it was cool. But yeah, it's nice. Like we all live in like fairly far apart, but we just like do stand-ups every morning and have meetings at the end of the day about what we worked on. And it's super chill, but also like we all get our stuff done, and we're all hard workers and doing a lot of good stuff, I think. So
how many people are you? It's you, Chris Nadav,
and Roman Terenchenko. He's not on Twitter or anything, but yeah, he worked on Eclair beforehand. He's actually the guy that implemented Tor functionality in Eclair, and yeah, he does a lot of good work for us. He's a really smart guy.
So what are you most excited beyond DLCs at Suredbits? Like, obviously we talked to Chris and Nadav about this in the first episode, but I want to get your opinion on, not your opinion, your thoughts on why you work there and what you're excited about as you guys build out this company.
It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, DLCs is like our primary thing. I think like eventually we're gonna try to do, like, I think just like the DLCs is such a deep problem because it's like, once we get like DLCs like done, we still need to figure out like all the external factors for it, like building like a market where you can find other people to take the other side of your bet, and building out solutions for like actually for oracles to actually do the correct things, or how oracles want to interact with each other. And there's just so many problems to solve with that. It's like lightning. Like you can have the initial implementation out, but it could be a decade-long problem to work on. So I think that's going to be our focus for a while. But I don't know. I think it's a really cool thing to focus on for a while.
I do as well. And another thing I love to highlight in this space is people who have long-term views and are down to commit to doing the grunt work to build out a larger vision. It's not easy. It's not easy what you guys are doing. How hard has it been building this client to make DLCs possible for Bitcoiners?
Yeah, it's a lot of work because there's lots of things we need to think about. Like, we've refactored this whole thing like so many times where it's like, oh, we started out with this assumption that's not correct, so we need to redo a bunch of it. But yeah, it hasn't been too bad. Like beforehand, we had a whole actually Bitcoin library. We can create all of our transactions and stuff, which is very helpful. But yeah, I've been mostly on the wallet implementation side of it, and like how to store all these signatures and transaction data, and then how to communicate that with the user. And there's a lot of things to do. Like getting the UX for that is, I mean, the current stage is not pretty at all. But just like I've been in the Bitcoin design call, which is like started by Square Crypto, where they're trying to like get designers to help design like things for developers and how to like correctly convey information to them, as well as make this pretty and look good. And there's a lot of smart people there and trying to take like their knowledge and apply it to like what we're working on. Like what should be extracted from the user, and what should they be explicitly setting, what and like what target user are you actually going for, and stuff like that. There's just like so much to think about.
Yeah, I'm very happy that Slack group was started because it's one of the things people like to poo-poo Bitcoin for, the poor UI UX. It's never going to get mass adoption, Ben. It's going to get outrun by these altcoins.
Yeah, they have the exact same problems though.
I mean, if we are to give a hat tip to Ethereum, I think while their apps may not be as decentralized as they like to advertise, I think they are pretty and do have a good UX flow. From what I've observed, I haven't used too many of them, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I guess like MetaMask is kind of pretty, but I think it's kind of unfair to say it's better UX if you're lying to your users about the security model that they're taking. So
yeah, how are they lying?
Claiming that it's decentralized, or that like this contract is decentralized, even though there's an admin key that can just overwrite everything that the user's doing. So
yeah. What else are you excited for in the world of Bitcoin? What are you looking forward to?
Absolutely looking really forward to Taproot. I'm excited for like once we have that, it's gonna add a whole bunch of new things that we can do. Like one of the big thing I really think is like, so since Taproot is now a pay to pub key, you can use that pub key now for any other like off-chain stuff. So I think it might have been Nicholas or no, who was it? Maybe it was Nopar that came up with this idea where you under that same pub key you host a Tor address, and then you could use that for like a secured communication channel, and then now use that for like if you want to do a pay join instead of just a regular send, stuff like that, where you're like negotiating all these off-chain protocols by just sending a Bitcoin address and communicating through that. I think it's going to be absolutely huge, as well as and then you're getting like all these optimizations as well.
Yeah. How early are we, Ben?
Way too fucking early.
Are we too early?
Oh, there's no such thing as too early. I think like if I try to get my mom to use Bitcoin, like that's not going to happen. She's not going to want to understand private keys right now, and trying to get her to like mix coins, or even question like can't call someone to fix a problem she has. Like I don't think it's not tenable for the average day person, I think, yet. But if you are here now, you're gonna get paid for it, because number go up.
Yeah, but Ben, you dirty capitalist wanting to profit off Bitcoin, and just number go up is just low level knuckle dragging type rationalization for being in this asset.
I'm sorry. You can tax me.
No, but people hate the number go up meme, but it is completely necessary. Like, look, none of this happens without sufficient liquidity.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Bitcoin number doesn't go up, I think we just die, because the halving is gonna happen and take out miners if we don't go up in price.
Yeah. So, do you have any thoughts on the stock to flow model?
I honestly hate it. It's it just like, even if it is true, it just looks so scammy, and like it's just like something you'd see like on this like some shitcoiners post, like, no guys, look, I did a bunch of math and calculated the price for the next 10 years. It's like, sure, if you're right, that's cool, but like I'd rather talk about like why this thing's valuable, not the math behind this algorithm or whatever you made.
Yeah, I think it's a nice to have. I don't think it's a nice to lead with.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, you shouldn't like be like, hey dad, look at this. This is why the Bitcoin price is going to go up, because this guy made this chart. But if you like, if you fully understand why Bitcoin is valuable, like the censorship resistant sound money, and then you're like, look at this chart, this kind of proves it. I can see you liking it for that reason, but I think a lot of people try to push that as their initial, like try to get people into it, and I think that's just, you're gonna get like the crypto moon boys then, and I don't think that's a great place to start.
What are your thoughts on the Moon Boys?
And there's a bunch of degens, which, I was a moon boy when we first started out, basically, so I don't give them too much, but
Hey, you were a Moon Boy. You bought $50 and thought you were going to be a millionaire.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, moon boys are the foundation of number go up, kind of, so we kind of have to deal with them, but Bitcoin kind of tends to turn them into, like the hardcore hodlers like we are, if they stay around for a while, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a very reproducible hero's journey. A journey from Moon Boy to Stoic Hodler. Maybe we're just full of ourselves here, but it seems to have happened many times at least.
Yeah, like most people I've talked to, they've always been like, yeah, I heard about it, bought a little, then I bought a lot, then I got into shitcoins, and now I'm a hardcore Bitcoiner.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the generic story, which, you end up as a Bitcoiner, fine with me.
Did you ever fall into shitcoinery?
Oh yeah, I was a huge Nano shill for a while.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
What attracted you to Nano?
I just thought I thought it was so cool that it was like free, quote unquote, and fast, but and I was like, oh, it still has the supply limit, and I just I didn't really think about proof of stake as anything. It's like, well, they say it's okay, so it must work, and yeah, and now it's, yeah, I'm sorry.
Do you think Ethereum ever successfully transitions to proof of stake?
I think once they do transition, or once ETH 2.0 comes out, that's when Ethereum dies, in my opinion. Because if they do launch it, now they've kind of admitted, they're gonna totally bifurcate their community. Like MakerDAO is gonna have to now support two things. Every single contract is gonna have to support two things, and all the wallet developers and basically every developer is gonna have to support two things, and that's gonna take forever to do, and it's gonna just, I think, quickly kill the project.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not convinced that they ever actually fully transition.
I don't know. They got a testnet kinda, but who knows when that's
completely dependent on Cloudflare, apparently.
yeah. Yeah. So that's a sad.
It's a critical dependency there.
Yeah, I still I don't understand how do you convince yourself that it's decentralized while you're literally reliant and pinging on Cloudflare. That I don't know. Not my problem.
Cloudflare's had some infamous network issues recently, right? Didn't they have something last week where they went down for a while?
Yeah, they've been having a ton of outages this year. It feels like, just the internet as a whole. I don't know, 2020, I guess.
Yeah, do you think they shut down the internet on us at some point?
Nah. We got Jeff Bezos on our side. He's not gonna let that happen.
That's true. He's making a lot of money from all the storage. I guess we can end it on, do you get paid in Bitcoin and Suredbits, if that's not too forward of a question?
No, I tried to, but it'd be bad for accounting apparently, so.
Yeah.
Darn.
At some point in the future.
Yeah, that's the plan.
It's been a very informative hour. Is there anything you want to get off your chest before we wrap up? Anything you didn't say about the LCs or what you're working on at Suredbits that you think the freaks should know about?
We have Marty alluded to this earlier, but we have 1 million blog posts on everything about Bitcoin, DLCs, Lightning, Taproot, whatever have you. So check that out, and I don't know, follow me on Twitter.
Where can we find you on Twitter?
At Ben the Carman. I tweet I shitpost a lot, but also try to tweet some good stuff.
I think you have a good balance of shitpost and quality, stimulating intellectual engagement with other developers and people building stuff on Bitcoin.
Well, thank you. I try.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for trying. Freaks, DLCs. Very underappreciated. Not yet underscored. I think they're going to surprise people a lot to the upside. And I again, heuristically, I like things that are underappreciated, yet have strong fundamentals, which discrete law contracts fall into that bucket, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, go follow Ben on Twitter. Ben, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's been fun.
That's all we got for this Friday afternoon, freaks. Peace and love.